it's a step away from reality, but still is kind of a reality within itself, which is something that I really respected. And just the character dynamics between, you know, Rafe and Gabriel, and everything that Gabriel has gone through in his life, and to be so strong and to be so layered was something that I really was intrigued by. Gabriel is kind of he's kind of like the hope of society. He's kind of like the Jesus of this world, if you will. And you know, Jesus didn't know that he was Jesus until he was Jesus, and I think the same applies to Gabriel, which is really cool to me. I kind of see Gabriel as a crocodile, you know. He kind of like sits and waits, but he's also so aware of everything that's going on around him. It's really cool. Rupert and I had the same ideals of Gabriel. I say that he's a crocodile because I remember talking to Rupert on a FaceTime prior to filming and telling him how I saw Gabriel, and I mentioned how that would be his spirit animal, and we kind of based the character and everything that he is off of that analogy. So Gabriel is Gabriel, he sits and waits. He doesn't talk much unless he has to talk. He doesn't say much, and he doesn't do much unless like he has to do it. So I mean, I think it's always a collaborative process when developing a character with the director and an actor, and even when going into filming, it's a collaborative process between the DP and the actor and the director, because we're all kind of like dancing off of each other, in a sense. Well, there's a lot that's given in the script, for sure, but I think, I mean, Gabriel kind of had to grow up really fast with the lack of his parents, and you know, he didn't have anybody to look up to. He kind of had to raise himself, and Jurgis kind of became his only sense of family, and he's also kind of raising Jurgis in a way, you know, like they're two totally different people, but he's the most responsible one of the two. So I feel like Gabriel had to become a man at a really early age. Rupert is, it's interesting. For me, he gives me a lot of freedom as an actor to explore and discover things within the script and within the environment, which is really essential to me. It's not just direct this or that. I mean, if he wants something specific, then he'll tell me, but it's, like I said, it's kind of like a dance. I'll ask Rupert what he wants or what's lacking or what's not, and I'll make the adjustment, and like vice versa, and we'll kind of like have epiphanies about scenes or about the character while being on set, which is really, really cool to have that type of relationship with the director. John Goodman, the legendary John Goodman. He's a great actor, man. It's been great to even be in his presence and to just be on camera with this man. We both give a lot to each other in scene, and I mean, like the character dynamic between Gabriel and Mulligan are really heavy. I mean, it's a love and hate relationship almost. More so a lot of hate coming from Gabriel's end, but it's a misunderstanding. And I feel like that relationship is something that develops towards the end of the film, and you kind of see where their relationship ends before everything starts to like click for Gabriel, you know? So it's been really cool working with John. It's been a pleasure, man. Man, I feel like Chicago is always calling me back. I'm always coming back here for some reason. But it's been really cool. I mean, it's obviously a whole nother perspective on the city. I'm seeing, we're filming at all these cool locations that I would have never been to or would have seen or known about if it wasn't for this film. So it's been really cool, and I have a lot of friends here as well, so it's kind of like being back at home, but I'm working and doing this on a professional level. Beforehand, I was in school trying to get to this level, and I'm doing it now, so I mean, it's magical, man. The outskirts of the lake, man, are really beautiful. That was one standout thing for me, and I mean just how artistic the city is in every level, man. There's I don't know how they found these locations in Chicago, but they did, and they're perfect. Like everything I would have imagined this world to be when I step on set, it is, which is an actor's like dream, man. You know, so it's been really rad. Me and Vera have some. It's minute dialogue, but they're really intense scenes. I mean, the backing of that character relationship is that Vera taught at the school that Gabriel went to, and when I initially meet her, I'm trying to figure out who she is, and when I'm about to say something, she ends up being killed off. Which was a really heavy scene to film. It was crazy to actually like see the process of it being done. But she's a sweetheart, man. She's a sweetheart. I was a fan of hers before actually filming, so cross that off my list. Coulson and I have the same type of relationship that Gabriel and Jurgis have in the film actually. So it's really authentic. It's a really natural thing. We find moments that are so authentic that couldn't have even been written in the script. So that's been really cool. He's a really talented actor, and also like a dope musician. So. Jurgis and Gabriel are two totally different people. Jurgis is more so spontaneous in action, and Gabriel, he sits and thinks and ponders on what's right and what's wrong, so that it becomes a divide at some point within the film, but brothers are brothers and family is different, so at the end of the day, you're always going to love your brother or your sister or your sibling, no matter how annoying or how messed up things get between the relationship. It's very real, and Jurgis is Gabriel's only sense of family. So that comes into play. You definitely feel that energy and see that energy and read what the relationship is when going through the script and filming and being in scene. I think people can expect the unexpected. It's not a film that you see a commercial of and just like know immediately what it's going to be about. It has so many layers to it, which is why I love the script initially. Another reason why I love the script initially when reading it. I feel like the audience is going to be taken into this world, and although we're filming in Chicago, it's not going to feel like Chicago. It's going to feel otherly. So I mean, I hope the audience resonates with it the way that myself and the rest of the cast and Rupert resonates with it, because this is a project of passion for all of us, I feel.
Rupert, the director, kind of compared it to the French underground, the resistance in World War II. And I kind of like that take on it. I've always admired those people because it was, man, you're one step away from death all the time, literally. And they had, people who are indifferent, which is probably the greatest enemy to their plight, who do anything just to get by. Not necessarily people who are going to, root you out and shoot you on the spot, but it's the people that maybe have a little bit to gain by turning you in or seeing what they've seen or informing on you. It's a dangerous world. He's a cop, and the thing that I like about him most of all is he. Not necessarily a straight shooter, but he likes law and order. I mean, literally, he likes things must be ordered. Things, or else we have no society. We must have laws, and he's pretty strict about it. He doesn't. We're under a terrible. These are terrible times. He doesn't want to give in to panic or paranoia. He wants things the way they are, but they've got to be, you know, in a certain way, and then we can deal with everything else. But you know, let's get ourselves straight first. I think it's about what we're willing to put up with for freedom, about what we're willing to sacrifice for our own personal peace of mind, our own sense of freedom. More than anything else, Rupert and I discussed the look of the piece, what we thought. There's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of gray areas in our lives in this. What, you know, what we thought it would take to survive. So I can only say for me is that he'll sketch out what he's going for, and then he'll come to me with specifics once we get a couple of takes in, and try to tack it down, nail it down. And when he's happy with something, then I'm usually satisfied with it as well, because yeah, I trust his judgment. The character of Gabriel is the son of my old partner in a Chicago cop, and I'm trying to keep an eye on he and his brother survived their parents. You know, as best I can, trying to keep my eye out for them, because they are rebellious, and they could get into a lot of trouble. He's a smart kid. He wants more. He wants more out of this life. He's great. He's boy, is he good. He's fast, smart, and he's funny. But it's nice to be able to kick back and see what he's going to come up with, and then just play off of that, because he's really got the goods. She's swell. I'll just say that. I've always admired her. I could jump off an 8-story building and she would catch me. That's the way it felt. I just, anytime, any place, I'd be happy to work with her, because I just, we hit it off pretty well, and yeah, I could trust her. She's an ex-school teacher who he knew from before the invasion. Who's fallen upon a new way of making a living, and becomes very important to Mulligan and to the resistance as well. But yeah, she becomes kind of an information conduit, and a very, very brave person who sacrifices all. Right now, my favorites, it'll change. It always changed. But was yeah, a little scene I had with Vera. We were kind of saying goodbye to each other, and it just felt like we'd known each other for years when I'd met her a half an hour before. Very comfortable, and it's one of those things you go into acting and you feel like you're doing the right thing. Okay, I didn't make a mistake. This is all right. I'm doing all right thing. Yeah, she's wonderful. You know what? It's just basic physical, being in Chicago and late winter type of stuff. Coming off of another job, but I love Chicago. The talent here is the talent pool is deep and enormous. I mean, yeah, the acting here is mighty. What I do is, what would I do in these situations? Put maybe take themselves out of their lives for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and think about it.
I am Jonathan Majors, and I play Raphael. This script came to me pretty standard via my team, and pretty new to, I just graduated from school, so I wasn't really aware of how things kind of worked. And so I got the script, and I was like, well, what? We put this on tape, and he was like, the director wants to meet with you. So I'm like, cool. And so I go and read the script from my agent, and then I meet up with Rupert at a restaurant, and that's how the process began. I fell in love with the script. I thought, okay, this is interesting. Primarily because the characters, for one, that we are in a world in which everybody. First off, you have a couple protagonists. They ebb and flow about who's in focus, who's not in focus. Ultimately, you realize that they're all kind of deeply interconnected through family. Rafe and Gabe being brothers, and Mulligan being the partner of our deceased father. So I was amazed by that trinity, that we're kind of following these three storylines. A country, the United States of America, is under occupation, which is something that we are probably one of the very few countries that are fortunate enough to never be really under occupation, though we've occupied and currently occupy quote-unquote other countries. And so we're in a vulnerable situation because we're being occupied by something more powerful than us. And that is, one, drama, and two, unheard of. How is that possible that America could be occupied? And we are, by these other creatures, these aliens. And they've come and they've taken over our government, and they've taken over essentially our way of life. Everything we know now, digital watches gone, smart cars gone, smart anything gone. We're back to Rafe has a line. We're going backwards. To the dark ages, extinction, and we're slowly trickling back and back and back into like the caveman ages. We're almost done. Rafe is the older brother to Gabriel, and our father and mother were a police officer and a teacher, which is very cool. That in Chicago, our parents were very domestic, social disciples of humanity. They're police officers, so they're keeping us safe, and they're teachers, so they're educating us, right? Like, that is as down home as you can possibly get. And during the occupation, when it begins, our father begins to fight back. Our mother begins to fight back. The connection between Gabriel and Rafe is that, and Mulligan, is that our father being a cop, his partner is Mulligan, which we all know. That's the whole family knows that. But Rafe and Gabriel are young boys when this happens, and ultimately we become orphaned, and that's kind of where we begin the story. Rupert and Erica, the writers of the show, and Rupert being the director, did a great job, I think, of laying out breadcrumbs on how they got to where they got. Now, how they picked up one breadcrumb to the next breadcrumb, they left in some ways open for the actor to interpret and to kind of build. In addition to taking our natural resources, destroying our communication digitally, they've essentially locked down our airwaves, so we cannot connect. We can't connect, which is, I think, one of the biggest themes in the film, especially for Rafe, the need to connect, the need to hold on to and heal things. And without communication, he can't, and we as a society can't do that. We are living in a place where there's so much surveillance. We are being run by one power. It is their way. There is no communication between the people and the power. There is no communication between the people and the people. We are put in a situation where we simply exist, and we're being watched. And so we can't exist the way we wish to exist. We can't gather. There's nothing that we can do that we can't connect. The jammer is such a metaphor and a theme that we're jammed. and we can't get to each other, and we're not doing it to ourselves. There's something greater than us, and not the greatest thing, but something greater than us stopping us from connecting, and they're watching our every move. And I mean, Big Brother turned up to 20 million, in the process of being fortunate enough to receive the role, earn the role. We met pre-Trump administration and post-Trump administration. And pre-Trump administration, we were just we felt that there was something looming, but the script was written way before this became a thing. I think Rupert's been working on the script for years. I know that. He and Erica have been working on it for a very long time. So the script was written during the Obama administration. I think that's fair to say. But now there's been so many correlations between the world that we're living in Captive State, and the world that we actually dwell in now. There's a moment in the film where myself, Anita, and Daniel are escaping Chicago, and we have to walk through these scanners because only a certain group of people are authorized to travel. Now, we didn't know. I'd bet the bank on it that Rupert didn't know that we would be dealing with, a Muslim ban, quote unquote. He didn't know that the press would be locked out of the White House, at certain times. I'm certain he didn't know that. There is no art in Captive State. There is none. I mean, there's no references. There's nothing. And we are in a position now where we might lose the National Endowment of the Arts. PBS is has its back against the wall. So we're in a state, no pun intended, very similar to where we are now. One of the things I love about the film is that, and Rupert made a conscious choice to state that we're in a world that this is not Star Trek, this is not Star Wars. We're in a world that looks just like every day. We're walking around, we're hanging out. Some of the cars hover, there's a little uptick there, but we're in a very normal world. The day-to-day appears the same. And the only thing that's changed is the fact that there are implants, in that certain things don't apply anymore. The way we used to be doesn't really apply anymore, and the only thing that's changed that is time. And so we are in the future. We are in a different world. It's a heightened sense of reality that we're dealing in. So we have Mulligan, who represents, I think, the government branch, right? He's a police officer. He's a special branch police officer, played by John Goodman. And he occupies that sphere. Then we have Gabriel, baby brother, who is our day-to-day 9-to-5 young man worker. He is the social branch. He makes it through life day to day. And then we have Raphael, who is completely off the grid, right? Who represents the resistance, right? So you have these two guys on opposite sides. You have the state, and then you have the people, and then here you have the resistance. And so we're all pulling and trying to make our way through. Cool part about the film is that as we struggle, we kind of realize we're all kind of going for the same thing. But because we're jammed up, because we can't communicate, we have a hard time. And we lose life, and we lose time, and we lose resources because of that confusion. So Ashton and I met maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks ago from today, because we were attempting to, for art's sake, the experiment of what it is if we actually put these two young men together at the same time, myself and Ashton. And we were shooting for that, and we were moving around each other, and that was great. And then ultimately it became more important for the film that Jonathan and myself and Ashton got together. So we had dinner together, and it was just he and I, and we ate Italian, and it was a moment of recognition in some ways, and also sniffing each other out, trying to figure out who we are, not just actors, but who we are as young men, who we are as young black men, who we are as actors. who we are as the characters that we're going to be playing. You know, there's a lot of trust that has to transpire between us. There's a lot of history that has happened between us as characters, and so it was actually very easy, you know, after we kind of got into it with each other, just kind of like sit, breathe with each other, and I recognized a lot of light in him that I am attracted to. It's kind of cliche to say, like, you know, Chicago is a part of the film, but it absolutely is. You know, if this movie was happening in, you know, Cleveland or Cleveland or Los Angeles or any other place, it'd be very different. You know, there's something about being in a major city in the Midwest that is important to the film. You know, it helps. You know, we're not on the coast. There's no escape. You know, if you know, go to Japan if you're in LA. Go to you know, try to get to London if you're in New York. No, you are isolated in the middle of the country, and you know, America's a huge country. Jane Doe has been the one to help, you know, keep everything afloat, to the extent that she is the one that activates and educates and radicalizes young Rafe. And so she is his landline in many ways to the resistance. She is the encyclopedia, she is a dictionary, she is the GPS in which everything is kind of getting flowed to Rafe in the hideout. As you find out in the film, they have a very, it's very much like Romeo and Juliet. They're at a party, he sees her, star-crossed lovers. It ends up badly, you know. He sees her, Mulligan's married, but he has a connection with this woman, and they continue this friendship, which becomes romantic in a way, and very heartbreaking, because there's a barrier that they just can't breach. You know, that Mulligan, with his integrity, with his you know, understanding of life and his marriage, just can't go that far. But because they can't do that, the intimacy is so clear, and the connection is so potent between the two of them. When people see Captive State, I hope they walk away, one, you know, thoroughly entertained. You know, I think what we've put together is a dramatic story that it's really gonna get you going. You know, it's a thriller. You'll be thrilled when you watch it. You'll be rooting for these guys, and then I hope that it sticks with them long enough that they kind of realize, and I hope they will. They realize how close we are, the givens that are happening in the film and where we are now, and to, you know, I feel very fortunate to be working on this film, because to me it's real art. And what real art is specific, personal, and relevant. And because it's all of these things, I think the people that watch it, the audiences that see it, will find themselves in the film and connect to it and be able to take, you know, not the lessons, but the experiences of these characters and glean from them a bit of understanding about themselves and about the situation we're in, and make a change, you know, because we need to fight back in some ways, and we need to fight back hard, and it's a must, it's a necessity if we don't want to go back to the dark ages, you know, extinction, as Rafe says.